This is a basic yoga asana class that's appropriate for beginners. We're going to start in a comfortable seated position, so that might mean cross-legged for some of you. It might mean sitting with your legs extended out in front of you. Good, so posture is upright, chest lifted. Relax your arms down by your sides, maybe hands are on the lap. Close your eyes. And take a moment to relax. Feel the weight of your hips. Relax your thighs. Relax your shoulders. Soften the muscles of your face. Maybe relaxing the brow line, the cheeks. Unclench the jaw if it's tight. And keeping the lips gently closed, take a moment to observe your natural breath rhythm. Noticing the natural depth of your breath, the natural speed of it, if it's fast or slow. And then start to gradually deepen your inhales. And lengthen out your exhales, slowing them down. Feel the natural expansion of the abdomen as you breathe in. And as you slowly exhale, draw the navel lightly in towards your spine. Deeply and slowly breathe in, expanding the belly first, and then eventually the ribs. Slowly exhale, emptying out the lungs. When you're ready, you can start to engage the Ujjayi breath, which is a gentle constriction to the muscles in the back of your throat. It's similar to if you were to fog up a window, except you keep your lips closed. You'll start to hear your breath a little more. And it brings some heat into the body to get it warmed up. And it also gives the mind something to stay focused on. Once you finish your next exhale, gently open your eyes. Bend your knees and bring your feet to the floor. And then take the soles of the feet together and the knees out to the sides. If you have any discomfort in the hips or knees, you might want to stick blocks underneath your outer legs to support your hips. And then maybe wiggle side to side on your butt cheeks to get more grounded so you're not hunched. There you go. Now lift your chest forward and up as you breathe in. Exhale, lead with the chest, bend at the hips. And try not to hunch over. Good. If you're feeling pretty open, you can push your elbows against your inner thighs or calves to open the hips a little more. And be cautious of the shoulders not popping too far forward and the back not hunching over. Oh, that was mean. Notice your breath. We'll be here for one more deep breath in. And slowly exhale. On your next inhale, take your time to sit back up straight. Once you get upright, take your knees together. And then scoot off of anything you might be sitting on and find your way to the hands and knees. For some of you, that might mean putting a blanket under your knees for extra cushioning, if you have one or need it. And we're going to do some cat-cow stretches. Yeah, like that, but not so fast. On an inhale, lower the belly, lift your head and tail. Exhale, round your back, tucking chin and tail. Good. Inhale again into spinal extension. exhale into flexion. Do 2 more rounds on your own, moving with your breath, slowing it down if you need to. Once you finish your exhale, come back to a neutral spine. Grab a hold of your blocks if you have any handy. Use them as extensions of your arms. And step your right foot forward, going into a low lunge. Make sure your foot's forward enough so that the heel stays planted and doesn't lift. And then lift up your chest a little more and find a neutral spine. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, let your hips drop forward and down, stretching left hip flexors. If you feel like your right knee does start to go too far forward, then crawl your left knee back further. Or front foot forward. Either one's fine. And just breathe into this pose now. Slowly breathing in. And slowly breathing out. We'll be here for one more breath cycle. Now, as you exhale, shift into a half split. So the front leg will straighten, toes will lift, and the blocks move back with you so they're right under your shoulders. Good posture. Stick your butt out a little bit and lean forward with your chest if you want to get a deeper hamstring stretch. On your next inhale, come back into a low lunge, bending the front knee, bringing the foot to the floor. And then as you exhale, find your way back to tabletop again, to the hands and knees. We're just going to switch legs from there. So left foot goes forward for your lunge, using your blocks as extensions of your arms. Take a deep breath in, lengthening the spine. And as you exhale, let your hips drop forward and down. You don't have to go far. You don't even have to go any further than where you started if that's where your comfort level is. The front of the right hip is the main area that you'll probably be feeling a stretch. Some of you will be feeling right quads stretching as well. Stay connected to your breath. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, shift back into a half split again with the left toes lifting, blocks under the shoulders. Spine neutral, so that's usually sort of a cow action in the spine. Good. Now just breathe here. Okay. Next breath in, come back to a low lunge. Move your blocks aside and find your way to tabletop again, hands and knees. Keep your toes tucked under and drop your hips towards your feet or your heels. And then let your belly rest down towards your thighs as you slide your hands forward. So you should be getting a stretch in the toes and also in the side of the ribs, the shoulders. Keep the breath steady. One more full breath cycle. On your inhale, come back up to tabletop. Spread your fingers out wide. Let the tops of your feet rest on the floor for a moment. And then tuck your toes back under. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, lift your knees off the mat and come into downward dog, pressing your chest towards your thighs. If your back is rounded, bend your knees more so your spine is straighter. Good job, babe. Do it even more if you can. Good job. Some people like to spend a little time pedaling the legs out in downward dog their first time up here. If you feel like doing that, you can. Just make sure you keep breathing. Now bring your legs back to stillness if you're moving them. Gently lower the knees down to the floor. This time let the tops of the feet rest on the mat. And drop your hips towards your heels, rest in child's pose. This one now you can bring forearms to the floor. Some of you might like to cross forearms over each other to prop your head up on them. Be less concerned with how far down your head goes and more concerned with how far back your hips are able to drop back. Don't force them there, but if the hips are up high and the head down low, it's best to prop the head up. Reconnect to your breath control. Slowly breathing in and slowly breathing out. Be here for one more breath. Resting in child's pose. And on the next inhale, come back up to tabletop again. Spread the fingers and tuck your toes under. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, lift back up into downward dog. From downward dog, come to planks. Your shoulders will go over the wrists. Some of you might want to bring your knees to the floor. And then your plank is kind of narrow, babe, so hands forward more or feet back, one or the other. Shoulders right over the wrists and then heels right over the toes. So you can, anytime plank is offered, you can do it like this, or you can bring your knees to the floor for a modified plank. For whichever plank you're in, take a breath in. And then as you exhale, bring your knees to the mat if not already. Keep your butt up as you bend your elbows straight back. Bring in the chest down between your hands, right between your hands. Elbows stay lifted. There you go. Yep, you got it. And then from there into cobra, hips will go to the floor. Chest slides forward. So we're using the upper back muscles to lift the shoulders. We're not using the hands pushing down. Put a little tuck in your chin. Some cobras, the tops of the feet are on the floor. Some of them, the toes are tucked under. Either one is fine. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, go to the knees first, to tabletop, and then back up to downward dog. Good. Look forward at your hands and step your right foot as far forward as you can. If it didn't quite make it to the front of the mat, you can grab it to get it forward, like that. And now bring your left knee to the floor. Take your hands up to the right thigh and come upright. And find a spot ahead of you that doesn't move to keep your gaze fixed at for balance. An option now to add more challenge to your balance is to reach your arms up overhead with the palms facing each other. Trying to keep the elbows straight, even if that means the arms are not quite straight up and they're a little more forward. Notice the breath. Keep it flowing. One more deep inhale. And then as you exhale, bring your hands down to the thigh if they're up. And then frame your right foot with your hands. Some of you might want to use blocks under your hands if you need longer arms. Lift the left knee off the floor. And then hop your left foot forward, going into a forward fold. So bring the feet hip width apart. And don't worry about how far down your arms go. Be more concerned with your spine staying neutral. That could mean bending the knees quite a bit more for some. Good. And if you want to, you can grab opposite elbows. Or you can just let your arms hang there, whatever you prefer. Stay with the breath, though. If you're holding opposite arms, you're welcome to rock side to side if you'd like. the bottom of your next exhale, release your arms if you're holding them. And then some of you might want to use blocks. Some of you might not need to step into a lunge again. We're bringing the left foot back again. And then the knee to the floor. Move the blocks aside and find your way to downward dog, whether that means tabletop first or just right into it. We'll do those few poses in sequence again. Come to plank on an inhale. Shoulders will go over the wrists, and that might mean feet further back, even more, babe. Yep. Take a breath in. On your exhale, bring your knees to the floor. Butt stays up as your chest goes down right between your hands. Good job. And then slide into cobra. Chest forward, hips down. Deep breath in. Exhale, downward dog. Going through tabletop or plank. Take a full breath cycle here. And then look between your hands and step your left foot as far forward as you can, maybe grabbing it along the way. Right knee to the floor. And then take your hands to the left thigh. Bring your spine upright. And find your drishti, your focal point. If you keep the lower or the abdominal area drawn in lightly, that'll support your balance. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, bring your hands to your thigh if they're up overhead. Frame your left foot and find your way back to downward dog, whether that's through tabletop first or just right up into it. And that sequence again, inhale to plank. Exhale, bring knees, chest, and chin down. Butt in the air. Good. Inhale, cobra. And now untuck the toes. Press through tabletop into child's pose. Dropping your hips back towards your feet. Take a moment in child's pose to rest. Slow down the breath and check in. Anytime throughout your practice, you're welcome to come back to this pose, and you can consider it your resting pose. Remember, this is your practice, and only you know what you need. On your inhale, come back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes under and exhale up to downward dog. Inhale, look between your hands. Exhale, walk your feet to the front of the mat and come into a forward fold. On your inhale, bring your hands to your thighs. Look forward and bring your spine parallel to the floor. Take a breath in. Exhale, fold back down. Reverse swan dive. Reach your arms out and up overhead to stand. Breathing in. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart center. Now make your way to the front of the mat for some classical sun salutations. Bring your feet together. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, press your palms together. And we'll begin. Inhaling, reach your arms forward and up overhead. Exhaling, put a bend in the knees, reach forward and fold down. Step your right foot back, bring the knee to the floor into a low lunge. Breathing in, hands can go on the thigh if that's helpful. Exhale to downward dog. You can go to tabletop first if it's needed. Inhale, come to plank. Knees can be up or down. Exhale, bring your knees down and then your chest and chin. Good. Inhale, cobra, lower the hips and lift the shoulders. Exhale, downward dog. Going through tabletop if you need to. Left foot between the hands for a low lunge. You can grab it along the way if you need. Breathe in. Exhale, step forward and fold at the front of the mat. Look forward, reach forward and come up. Reach up, breathe in. Exhale, bring your hands back to your heart. We'll take a breath there to slow it down. That was half of one cycle, now the other side. Inhale, reach your arms forward and up. Exhale, reach forward and fold. Step your left foot back, come into a low lunge with the knee on the mat, maybe hands on thigh, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Through tabletop first, or just go right back. Inhale, plank, knees up or down. Exhale, bring knees, chest, and chin to the mat. Good. Inhale to cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Right foot comes forward into a low lunge, breathing in. Exhale, step forward and fold. Look forward, reach forward and come up to standing, inhale. Exhale, bring hands to heart. And we'll pause there again for a breath to slow it down. Inhaling, reach forward and up. Exhale, reach forward and fold. Right leg back, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Left leg forward, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, hands back to heart. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, reach forward and fold. Left leg back, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Right leg forward, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhaling, reach forward and up. Exhale, reach forward and fold. Right leg back, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Left leg forward, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, hands back to heart. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, reach forward and fold. Left leg back, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Right leg forward, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, hands to heart. One more round. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Right leg back, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin down to the mat. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Left leg forward, low lunge, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Left leg back, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Right leg forward, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reaching up. And exhale, bring hands back to heart center. We'll pause there for a moment, slowing down the breath. Release your arms down by your sides and slow down the breath. And we'll find Tadasana. Stand with your feet together, big toes touching. You can keep your eyes closed or open them for better balance. We'll shift forward toward the front of the feet, and then back toward the heels, and then come back to center. Lean a little bit to your left, a little bit to your right, and then come back to center. If you're comfortable and feel fairly balanced now, you can close your eyes. Feel the even distribution of your weight on both feet. Press your feet firmly into the mat. Engage the muscles of your legs. Engage your core. Keep the chest expanded and reach your fingertips down. And then while all these muscles are engaged, see if you can keep the breath smooth and steady, slow, controlled, finding a sense of balance between effort and ease. And now release. Gently open your eyes, relax the pose. Feel free to shake it off if you want to. From the front of your mat, bring your hands to your hips and step your left foot to the back of the mat. And then turn both your feet so they face the long edge of the mat, making the outer edges of your feet parallel to each other. If you're not quite sure how far apart to have your feet, bring your arms out to the sides and take your feet out underneath where your hands are. Yeah. And then bring your hands back to your hips. On your inhale, lift your chest, lengthen the spine. Exhale, lead with the chest, bend forward at the hips. You should feel your inner thighs stretching quite a bit. And then without letting the back hunch over, bring your hands down. Some of you might touch fingertips to the floor. Others might want to grab their blocks. And put them underneath your hands, where more or less where your shoulders are. Keep the back as parallel to the floor as you can. Now on your inhale, come up halfway again. Maybe you already are there. Maybe just fingertips to blocks. And then as you exhale, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale up to standing. Now turn your right toes toward the short end of the mat, lining the heel of that foot with the arch of the other foot. Bend the right knee toward the direction the toes are facing, and then turn your belly and chest toward the long edge of the mat. Extend your arms out to the sides in warrior two. Good job. And then neck will rotate to look past right middle finger. And a lot of people will tend to buckle the right knee inward. Try not to let it happen. Good. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, relax your arms down and straighten your right leg. Take your left foot a little bit closer to the right, maybe just a few inches, and then turn left toes in. So your hip now is internally rotated just a little. Still try to keep your pelvis facing the long edge of the mat. And then extend your arms out to the sides. Now drop the right hip down toward opposite foot. Reach to the right. And then bring your right hand to your thigh. Left arm up. Left palm facing the side. Yeah, so your chest stays open. And then the right hand, rest that either above the knee or below it, but not pushing right on it itself. On the next inhale, push both feet down, engage your core, and stand back up slowly. And then relax your arms down. Turn your right toes in. Left toes out, going into warrior two on the other side. So you might need to widen your stance a little bit since we're going from triangle. Left heel is in line with the arch of the opposite foot. Bend the left knee right above the ankle. Keep the pinky toe side of the right foot rooted. And your pelvis and chest face the long edge of the mat, arms out to the sides. And rotate your neck to look past left hand. Keep breathing. One more deep breath in. As you exhale, relax your arms down, straighten the left leg. And heel toe the right foot just a little bit closer. Turn the right toes in a little so that hip is turned inward. And then keep the pelvis and chest angled toward the long edge of the mat. Extend your arms out. Reach toward the direction the left toes are pointing as you drop the left hip down. And then bring left hand to thigh or shin, right arm up. Right arm reaches upward. Not that high up, right there. If you feel pretty open in the left hamstrings and inner thigh, you might be able to slide your left hand further down to shin. Some of you might even go to the ankle, but that's fairly advanced. Root down both feet, engage your core, and inhale up to standing. Once you're up, turn your feet so that they're parallel again, and then heel toe your feet together. Take a moment there to relax. Step to the front of your mat again. On an inhale, reach your arms out and up overhead. Exhale, reach your arms out and swan dive forward. On an inhale, come halfway up with your back parallel to the floor. Exhale, fold back down. Bring your palms to the mat and step to downward dog. There's a few options here. Some of you might like staying in downward dog for the next few breaths. Others might want to go to child's pose to rest even more. Or if you want to keep the intensity up, you can do what's often referred to as flowing through vinyasa. It's a couple of movements with the breath. The first is a plank. On an inhale, come to plank. This is optional. Exhale, bring knees, chest, and chin down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. So that's basically what vinyasa is. It's a chance to move your body with your breath if that's what you need, or it's a chance to rest if that's what you need. We'll meet back in downward dog if you're not already there. On an inhale, lift your right leg up toward the ceiling. Exhale, bring your knee to chest and your shoulders over your wrists, just like in plank. Good. Inhale, lift the leg again, one-legged downward dog. Exhale, same thing, knee to chest, but then step your foot between your hands. Now we're going to go back into warrior two. So it's a little trickier from this position. Your left foot will go sideways. Reach your left arm forward and up and cartwheel your arms out and up. Right knee's bent. Palms facing the floor. Yep. Now from warrior two, a pose called reverse warrior. So right palm will flip up. And then the spine laterally flexes sideways to reach your right arm up, bringing left hand on the outer thigh. Try to stay bent in the right knee so the hips stay low and open. And if you want somewhere to turn your gaze, some people find it easier to look down toward the left foot. A little tougher would be to rotate the neck and look up toward right hand. Now we're going to go back to warrior two. Extend your arms out to the sides. Take a deep breath in. Right knee is bent. Exhale, cartwheel your hands to frame the right foot. Go to the left tip toes and step back to downward dog. Feel free to go to tabletop first. And here you have the option again of either resting in downward dog or child's pose, or you can flow through vinyasa. On an inhale, come to plank. This is optional. Exhale, bring knees, chest, and chin down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward dog. We'll meet back again in downward dog. On your inhale, lift the left leg up toward the ceiling. Exhale, bring knee to chest, shoulders over wrists. Inhale, lift your leg up again, one-legged downward dog. Exhale, same thing, knee to chest to take your foot between the hands. And then it's moving with the left hip joint to turn the right foot sideways. Come back into warrior two. Relax your shoulders. And then flip the left palm up. Bend sideways at the waist for reverse warrior. Right arm resting on the outer thigh. Belly and chest still facing the side. Good job. One thing that can be helpful is to rotate the shoulder joint to take the back of the arm more toward the side. Inhale back to warrior two. Exhale, cartwheel your hands to frame the left foot. Go to the right tiptoes and step back to downward dog. Once again, you have the option of resting or moving with the breath. We'll meet again back in downward dog. On your inhale, look between your hands. Exhale, walk your feet to a forward fold at the front of the mat. Once you get there, bring your feet hip width apart at first, and then reach over for at least one of your blocks. You may use two, but grab one if you have one available. Now take your feet wider apart than your hips are, and then bring your heels in, toes out, moving the hip joints to do that. Drop your butt down, bending the knees, and come into a squat pose. So the blocks are there for your hands to be on, or you can sit on one or two stacked up. Drop your butt as low as your hips will allow, but make sure that your toes are facing the same direction as your knees. Some people stay fairly high if their hips are tight. Others might go low enough to bring forearms to the thighs. And some might have upper arms inside the thighs with hands to heart. Make sure your breath continues to flow. You can stay as long as you need to or come out of it whenever you need to. To come out of it, lift your hips, bring your feet hip width apart, and hang out for a moment in a forward fold. If you want to bend one knee and then the other to pedal the legs out, you're welcome to do that. Now, if you were using blocks, move them off to the sides. And on an inhale, come halfway up, look forward and straighten your back. Good. Exhale, fold back down. Bring your palms to the mat and step back to downward dog. Once again, you're welcome to take a rest or flow through vinyasa. Coming to plank on your inhale. Exhale, lowering knees, chest and chin. Inhaling to cobra. And exhale back to downward dog. And we'll meet once again back in downward dog. If you're in downward dog, come down to your knees. Reach over for one of your blocks and have it close by. And then bring your right knee behind your right hand on the floor still. Yep. And then wiggle your right foot to bring it in front of your left knee. And then start crawling your left knee back until eventually you can either sit down on a block under the right butt cheek, maybe 2 blocks. So a lot of you might be feeling a stretch in the right hip. That's the main area we're going for. Left hip flexors as well. If your right butt cheek is hovered off the mat like my husband's is, then you should definitely put something underneath it. Otherwise, all the weight of the pose gets put in the right knee instead of the hip being supported, so that can stretch. So when you're hanging out in this pose, just let your hips drop back and down and relax. If you feel like you're starting to roll toward the inner left knee, readjust so you're more on the top of it. Now to come out of it, tuck the left toes under and start crawling that knee a little more forward to lift the hips until you can go back to tabletop. This next pose you can do from either tabletop or downward dog. Lift your right leg back and up behind you. Open up your hips and bend your knee. Try to keep both arms straight and shoulders drawn back away from the neck. Good. Release back to hands and knees or downward dog, whichever you started from. And then from the knees, we'll do the other side. Move your left knee behind the left hand and wiggle the foot forward. And drop the right or the left, well, both hips, but the left hip back and down, propping it up with something if it doesn't make it to the floor. If you need to, you can take a couple of slow, steady breaths here. One more deep breath in. And slowly exhale. Now tuck the right toes under and crawl that knee a little more forward so you can remove the block and go back to tabletop or downward dog. Lift your left leg back and up behind you. Open up your hips and bend your knee. Good job. Release back to both knees or feet, and we'll all meet in child's pose. Uncross your feet, thanks. One option for child's pose, if it's more comfortable, a lot of people prefer this way, is to have the knees wider apart. That can create more space to relax into the pose. So remember, that's always an option. Now let's come back up to all fours again. And then we're going to go lower down to the belly. So crawl your knees back a little further. Bring your shoulders right above your wrists. Engage your core. Bend the elbows straight back and lower all the way down to your belly. Once you're down, reach your arms back by your sides. Have a little tuck in the chin so your face is more or less facing the mat, and then squeeze your legs as close together as you can get them. Tops of the feet on the mat. Push your hips into the floor and then lift shoulders, chest, and head. And you're welcome to lift the hands and feet if you'd like, but if the feet lift, it's not from the knees bending, but from the back of the knees lifting. One more deep breath in locust. Exhale, come down and rest. You can turn to a cheek and rest, or you can cross forearms in front of you and rest your head on them. Turn your head to face the mat again and bring your hands under your shoulders. Push the knees and hands into the mat and come to tabletop. And then find a seated position. So if you started the class out sitting on a bolster, it's probably a good idea now. Find a seated position that you're comfortable with that allows your arms to be free and your back to be straight. Find a position to sit in that you're comfortable with that allows you to have a straight spine and free arms. On an inhale, reach your arms out and up overhead. Interlace your fingers together. Open the palms and place your hands at the base of your skull. And then instead of pushing your head forward with your hands, push your hands back with your head and lean back into your hands if you're feeling pretty open in your shoulders. So your chest might feel some expansion, your shoulders might feel some stretch. Remember to breathe. Keep the breath steady. And now release your arms down to your sides. Maybe shake them out a little if you need to, or roll the shoulders around. Okay, now uncross your legs. Straighten your legs out in front of you. And then separate your legs wide. If you find that you're starting to hunch over or slouch back, a couple options are to prop your butt even higher, or maybe bend the knees a little more, or have the legs a little closer together. Here's another option. Press your chest forward and up, find a neutral spine, and notice if that alone makes your inner thighs stretch a little more. Keep the chest expanded. If you have enough stretch in the inner thighs, you can stay as you are. If you want more, you can bend at the hips, not at the waist, almost like you're bringing your belly inside your thighs. On an inhale, lift your chest and expand it. Good. And as you exhale, if you bend forward at all, don't let your chest collapse. Don't use the reach of your arms to bend forward. Use the chest going forward as you bend. And then just breathe. On your next inhale, take your time to sit back up straight. Once you get back up, bring your hands under your knees. Bend the knees and hug them back together at your chest. Take a moment to let your hips relax. If you want, you can rest your forehead down against your knees. If you let your head drop down, lift it up. And if you're sitting on anything, scoot off of it. You can move it off to the side. And now we're going to lie down on the back. To come down, bring your hands behind you and lay down gently. Once you're on your back, have your knees bent, feet hip-width apart, and arms at your sides. Take a moment to wiggle your shoulders underneath you so your chest expands. And then press your lower back down into the mat so you feel your hips naturally tilt up. Lift your hips off the mat and then peel your whole spine off the floor, keeping the feet pushing down. If anything feels strange about the way you lifted in your hips, knees, or feet, it might signify an imbalance in your hips mainly. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, slowly come back down to your back, one vertebra at a time. Take a moment there to rest. Now roll gently over to one side and press yourself slowly up into a seated position. Grab one of your blocks. If you don't have a block available, you can use a firm pillow or like a rolled up towel or something. Place it on one end of the mat, flat, and turn it so it's going parallel to the long edge of the mat, about a foot away from the edge of the mat. Now you're going to lay down with the block propping up the space between your shoulder blades. Lay back far enough so that your chest is lifted and it's not so much your neck that's propped up, but the rib cage itself. So when you lay down, right about at your bra line is where the corner of the block will be. And then the rest of you, if your spine is fairly flexible, this might feel comfortable. If you have a crunch in the back of your neck, then you might need to prop your head up on something like a blanket or another block. If you'd like, you can extend your legs down to the floor. Or if you'd prefer to do Baddha Konasana legs, which would be soles of the feet together and knees out to the side, that's an option as well. Whatever one you prefer, whatever works better for your body. And then have the palms facing up so that the chest can open. Close your eyes. And focus on your breathing. Slowly inhaling. And slowly exhaling. Take one more deep breath in. And as you exhale, draw the knees together gently. Bend your knees if your legs are straight. Rest for a moment with your feet on the floor and knees resting against each other. And then you can either roll to your side to come off of the block or start scooting away from it so that your head is propped on the block, and that'll make it easier to roll off of it. Push the block off to your side and lay back down on your back. Gently hug your knees to your chest. Feel free to rock side to side if you'd like, if it feels good. You can also make circles with your knees if you want to give your sacrum a massage. And come to stillness and bring your feet to the floor. Reach over for your strap or a towel if you don't have a strap, or your brown belt. Take your knees to your chest and wrap the strap around your feet. You can go 1 foot at a time, that might be easier. And then extend your legs up right above your hips. Walk your hands up the strap so that your arms are straight. And if your tailbone starts to lift off the floor, don't let it. This is going to be our inversion, which is flushing stale blood out of the legs, which helps to bring fresh blood to the heart and brain. Okay, bend your knees. Remove the strap and bring your feet to the floor. If you have a brown belt, wear it with pride and then place it off to the side. Now we'll set up for a spinal twist. Lift your hips just enough to move them to the right edge of the mat and bring them back down again. Take your knees up toward your chest. Extend your arms out to the sides, palms up, and let knees and feet drop over to your left. Try to bring your knees out to the side so they're in line with your hips, which could mean moving your feet further over to the side as well. If the right shoulder blade is popped up off the floor, you can lower that arm more toward your waist. Find a comfortable position in this spinal twist so that you can close your eyes and focus on your breath. One more breath on this side. And on your inhale, bring your knees back up to center. Straighten your spine. And then move your hips over to the left. Take your knees up and over to your right. One more full breath cycle. On your inhale, bring your knees back up to center. Straighten your spine. Hug your knees to your chest one more time. And then when you're ready, gently release all 4 limbs down to the mat, setting up for Shavasana, the final pose. Your arms will be about a foot or so out from your hips with the palms facing up, allowing the gentle opening in your chest. Feet will be a little bit apart so your hips can relax. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Relax the muscles of your face. Unclench your jaw. Relax your shoulders, your hips,
and your thighs.
Let all 4 limbs be heavy and relax.
Begin to deepen your breath. Bring movement back into your fingers and toes. Reach your arms overhead and stretch your whole body. Bend your knees and gently roll over to your most comfortable side and let your whole body rest. When you're ready, gently press back up into a seated position. Bring your hands to your heart center and close your eyes. And I'll close with the Guru mantra. This is a mantra that pays homage to the lineage of teachers that passed down the practice. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Akanda Mandala Karam Vyatamena Chara Charam Tatpadam Darshitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaste.